We will be starting here shortly, everyone. But before we do, of course, up on the screen, I've just thrown up my GoFundMe. GoFundMe goal, of course, 140,000 for me and my kids. You can read the story up on the GoFundMe as well as personal video. We've raised $460 so far, so we still got a long way to go. But every donation counts, even if it's just a dollar or two or $5. All donations count, and I want to thank everybody that has continued to share this out or donated in some way, shape, or form, or will be donating in the future. It is greatly appreciated after the hell and back I have been through in the last 2 years. But thank you, everybody, and please continue to share this out. It's for a great cause to get me back to my home country and get me and my kids over there and a fresh start. But yeah, thank you again. We'll be starting here shortly. Welcome, all you wrestling fans, to the redo of the 10th episode of the Pop-Up Powerbomb podcast. Of course, last week we had technical difficulties, but this week we are back. I'm your host, the Breathtaking One himself, Spooky. Tonight, wrestling fans, we share our thoughts on NXT's Great American Bash pay-per-view. As we go over the results, we speculate on this upcoming weekend's WWE's Summerslam pay-per-view. AEW's Dynamite this week reaches 200 episodes, so it's an accolade for them. And of course, we have much more for you. I got my coffee. Hope you all got yours, or a nice cold beverage and snacks. And now, everybody, it's story time with the Breathtaking One Bay Bay. And I can still see in the chat, of course, my lovely girl made it. Even though she's been in a bit of a pickle, she's not home. She's had to get out of her home. It's great to see you, love, while that's being fixed up. Some water leakage and stuff going on. I hope that gets sorted out as quick as possible. And Timmy, I'm so sorry for your loss, brother. Especially when it's a loved one like that, and a parent at that. So my prayers and thoughts go out to you, and of course the rest of your family, man. It's never easy, brother, and just take all the time you need. Everybody takes their own time to process it and deal with it, and get to a point that I guess you can say that that it's easy to cope with during the day. It's, never gets, I guess, easy, and I'm quite sure you've got very fond memories, but I'm very sorry for your loss. All right, folks, of course, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And, of course, share this out. It's always a great, great help. Here's the man himself. He's late to the party. The cerebral one himself, Paul, has entered the building. But before I introduce him and see what he's been up to, just a couple little tidbits. So first, I want to shout out the Welsh wrestling icon, Adrian Street. He was known as the saddest in sequins. He passed away, I think, earlier today or yesterday at the age of 82. Timmy, you might have heard of him. He's from your way. British wrestling icon Adrian Street passed away at the age of 82. Grange Universal Hospital. He was known as the saddest in sequins, and the man fans love to hate. During his illustrious career in the 70s and 80s, where he gained fame for his outrageous appearance and intense fighting style, he had success extended to Canada and US during the 80s, where he won several championship belts, became a prominent figure, playing up to the cameras quite often. Alongside his wife, who was also a former wrestler, Linda, whom he met in '69, they settled in Florida and ventured into a successful costume-making business called the Bazaar and Bazaar, which kind of was fitting for, I guess, his style and flair. Along with a wrestling school called Skull Crushers Academy. Street estimated that during his career he'd wrestled between 12,000 and 15,000 matches. You can imagine his body went through it. But prayers and, of course, thoughts out to his family, and deepest heartfelt condolences, obviously, to the Street family and friends of him as well. And we also lost another icon who had a fair bit to do with wrestling too. And if you didn't know him from the wrestling world, you certainly would know him from the acting world. So it was with great sadness, the passing of Paul Rubens, best known for his iconic portrayal of Pee Wee Herman, the talented actor who brought joy to audiences since 1977 with his beloved character succumbed to cancer on Sunday night at the age of 70. He had been courageously battling cancer for the past 6 years, a personal struggle he chose to keep very private. In a heartfelt note written by Paul himself before his passing and shared by his family after his death, the actor expressed remorse for not sharing his diagnosis with the world. Paul Rubens leaves behind a legacy of laughter and positivity as Pee Wee Herman became an enduring part of pop culture. And for those, especially WWE fans, might remember the I think it was November 1st, 2010 episode of Raw, which was held at the Nassau Coliseum. Pee Wee Herman made a special guest appearance. Throughout the show, he engaged in playful backstage shenanigans and eventually found himself in the wrestling ring confronting The Miz. And that obviously led to him winning a Slammy Award for the guest star Shining Moment of the Year in 2010. His association with WWE, though, didn't end there. He made a special comeback during WrestleMania 27, sharing a segment with wrestling legends The Rock and Gene Okerlund. In this memorable appearance, he humorously revealed himself as Cena's biggest fan, delighting the audience with his trademark quirky charm. So another big loss, again, in the wrestling and acting community. Pee Wee Herman, I mean, I was a huge fan of Pee Wee Herman. I still, to this day, and they kept filming this. He wasn't actually meant to do it, but the director thought it was that funny they kept it going. In the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, his death scene, where he's taken forever and a day to die, was probably one of the funniest death scenes I remember in a movie in a long, long time. He improvised, and they just rolled with it. It wasn't scripted. He just did his own thing. The director's like, "Hey, this this is working. Let's go with it." it was so freaking hilarious.
Yep, one of my favorite bits.
Yeah, it was. I was like,
yeah.
How long is it going to take? It's going to take half an hour.
I think they were too, because if you look at Donald Sutherland and
Yeah, their expression.
what's her name?
Yeah. They were like, what?
They had that, is he done yet? Is
Yeah.
he? Is he?
Yeah. But no, they just kept rolling with it, and it still stands.
One, it was cool because they started saying their next lines and he would cut back in and okay.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, he was good. And then of course the Pee Wee Herman movies were just fantastic. Always loved his little sense of humor, and yeah, I think he had had a TV show there for a while too.
Oh yeah, Pee Wee's Playhouse, dude. They didn't have that where you were.
No, they did. Yeah. They yeah. No, it was a really good show. I know I was going to make a when he started showing himself sort of more prominently again after obviously years of sort of being out of spotlight. He was going to bring it back, and it just didn't come to fruition.
Yeah, well, he actually did. He did a special.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did a special. Yeah, he did a special, and I think that's where it was going to lead. It was going to lead to, possibly,
Right.
sort of booting it, refreshing it, and that. But yeah, it's a sad.
I didn't realize he was 70. That's the part that caught me. Holy shit.
Yeah. It don't, and I mean, time flies. Like you don't realize. I mean, I still had in my head that he must be.
Well, I didn't realize he was 15 years older than me. I honestly didn't realize he was that old.
No, neither did I. I actually thought he was more sort of mid to late 50s, maybe 60s.
Right. That's what I was thinking. I'm much closer to my age.
But 70. But I mean, he aged gracefully. He really did.
Yep.
Which is a surprise because he did have that period, as we know, or anybody that followed his career, where he had hit the alcohol and the drugs there bad for a while there. So I'm surprised he aged as gracefully as he did. But obviously he sobered up and got himself clean, and he's not the only actor, as we know, that's bounced back from a period like that.
Yep.
Robert Downey Jr. did that, almost ruined his career.
Yep.
And came back as Iron Man,
Yep.
and boom, off he shot to being the biggest star in the world.
I also remember Paul Rubin's big comeback role was as the father of the Penguin in the Batman movie.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And they tossed him off off the bridge.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But no, he was.
I think that was his first role under the name Paul Rubens when he came back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because before that he was obviously credited as Pee Wee Herman. So
Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah.
Yep.
But how you been, brother? We're back at it this week. It seems like everything's
don't ask me that question. But I'm here. Let's just put it that way.
You're here. You're breathing.
Yep. So yeah, aside from the pay-per-view that I watched yesterday, I also watched the Cody Rhodes documentary that hit Peacock today.
Yeah, how did you enjoy that so far?
That was very cool. You learn. If like me, you already had respect for Cody Rhodes. I now have much more respect for Cody Rhodes.
Yeah,
and everything that he's actually done.
Did he?
And
in that documentary, did he actually? Is that where he gives his definitive? I know it's just come up in a lot of the reports this morning. He gave a definitive answer finally of why he actually left AEW.
Well, all he says is that was the part when if you see any of the ads, he goes, now, part of my deal for doing this documentary is this part here. I don't want you to edit it or cut it in any way, including this part.
Yeah.
And then he goes into it. And he talks about, he just says, all he's going to say is that it was personal. It was nothing. It was no problem with anybody. There was no animosity. All he says is it was personal. And then he goes into, as far as he's concerned, his original goal from when he was like 8 years old was to win the belt for his dad.
Yeah.
And so that part of that is personal, is that he can't do that outside of the WWE. The only way he can do that, finish that story, is to go back to WWE.
Yes, yeah.
So I think that had a lot to do with it. Because the whole idea that his contract was that he was one of the guys that started that company.
Yeah.
I think if he wanted to stay, whether his contract was up or not, he would have found a way. They would have, But they also showed a bunch of stuff that, because I had stopped following for a while, like when he actually tore his pectoral and wrestled.
Oh, yes, yeah.
That was wow.
Crazy,
I mean,
crazy. And apparently,
like I said, if you don't,
I was going to say, apparently in the documentary they showed a bit of what's the thing that him and the Bucks created? Being the Elite. Apparently was a part of it. Yeah.
They showed a little bit of everything that he'd done throughout his career.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is interesting.
And like
you don't
I said,
usually see WWE when they do documentaries like that show parts of the person's career outside of WWE.
They didn't show any parts of the matches outside of the WWE, just quick little snippets and stuff. But all the match parts we saw were part of his WWE history.
Right.
Be it when he wrestled, when he wrestled with his brother and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And when he was part of the Legacy or whatever they were, all that stuff.
With Orton, yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I already had respect for him, but even if you're like, Cody's okay, watch this. You'll have a whole different,
Yeah. I'll be watching it definitely later. I haven't seen it yet, but I've got it. And
to the point, I went back and I watched WrestleMania 28 from 2 years ago.
Right.
Or where he came back. That was amazing.
Yeah, that whole entrance and everything. Yeah, it was done so well.
Yeah, just because no, as far as the audience knew, I don't think anybody knew he was coming. So only some of the wrestlers did. But the reaction he got.
The big thing
when he,
I know. I haven't watched it. I'm going to watch it later. But the big thing I know from the documentary, because I've seen snippets of it around the place, is Vince McMahon did something that he doesn't usually do with a lot of wrestlers. He actually went to his house to sign him back.
He talked about that.
Yeah.
And he thought it was going to be a meeting where he was going to have to apologize to Vince and he said that wasn't the meeting at all. It was what do you want to do,
Yeah.
Basically they wanted him to come back at that point.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he also talks about because he was a legacy wrestler, he said he when he chose to leave and do the other outlets and stuff after the whole fiasco with his character that he really didn't like, but he did that character to his fullest because that's who he is. Yeah, you give him a job, he's going to do it to his fullest.
Yeah.
And it was actually his dad who said, if you don't like it, quit.
Yeah.
And he said he thought he'd never heard his dad say that. Yeah. But,
No, but I also understand that from Dusty because for those that know the story with Dusty, he did not like Dustin's Goldust character. He just didn't like it at all.
Right.
And I don't think that he would have liked the whole Stardust thing for Cody. Dusty was
he was still there. He was still alive when they did Stardust.
Yeah. But right? he really didn't like it. It's just like he himself, when he was still alive, talked about he didn't like when he went to the WWF, as it was known back in the day, and they put him in polka dots. He really didn't like that. Dusty Rhodes before that, because they kind of made him, not fully, but kind of a comedic gimmick when they put him in the polka dots and stuff like that.
Right.
Before that, he was more of an aggressive, serious wrestler. Especially in the territory.
But if you go back and watch some of his stuff, though, he was still kind of a showman, even though he was a serious wrestler.
Yeah, he was.
He was very much a showman in the ring.
But at the same token, like, I think when they put him in the polka dots for that particular era, because that was like sort of 80s, I think, coming into the 80s, it kind of fit in that era because people were wearing the bright colours, like Macho Man would come out in the brightest of colours and stuff like that.
Macho Man, the Ultimate Warrior is another one who was just very flashy.
Yeah, he was, so.
So watch this thing. I mean, it's two and a half. It's like 2.5 hours. It's long, but you're like, okay, this is cool. I mean, it really is, because they talk about, they also go into, because Dusty had the wrestling school and they had all these people you're seeing that are making it big now. A lot of them were part of what they called Dusty's kids.
Yes, yeah.
They came out of Dusty's school.
Roman Reigns being one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, obviously, like you just touched on before, we were talking about the Cody documentary. We had a pay-per-view this weekend, the Great American Bash, NXT's Great American Bash, which, for those that aren't aware, Dusty Rhodes actually came up with that name back in the day. That was one of the pay-per-view names he created. And it was a pretty good pay-per-view. When we get to a certain match, though, I do want to talk about something. Because it was the most awkward, horriblest thing I've ever freaking seen, and that was something to do in the women's championship match.
Oh.
I was like, what in the freaking hell is happening here? But no, other than that, it wasn't a bad pay per view. Obviously on the undercard, you had the Nathan Fraser, the two girls, and Dragon Lee took out Noam Dar and his two girls in that Oro Mensa in an 8-person mixed tag. That wasn't too bad to start the pre-show. But to kick it off, of course, we had the NXT Tag Team Championships being defended by Gallus against, obviously, the family and Tony D and Stacks. And I was really happy with the result. I kind of had a feeling that they were going to go in this route, that we're going to get new champions. And I think it was good because I like Gallus, but I only like them for their ability in the ring. They're very plain. They're very... So I had a feeling they weren't going to be tag champs for very long because they're not very good on the microphone. They're not, flashy or anything like that, whereas Tony D and Stacks have that more personality about them. It was a good little tag match for what it was, 9 minutes long. Everybody sort of played their part, did their role, including Joe Coffey on the outside, who copped the crowbar straight to the head. Which I thought was funny. He tried to bring in that wooden little bat thing he had, which kind of reminds me actually of Sheamus's little wooden bat that he uses sometimes. Yeah, it's definitely a pobby.
Well, isn't Sheamus supposed to be a shillelagh or something?
Shillelagh, that's what. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
and no, that was a good way to kick it off. And then we obviously moved into the Weapons Wild match between Roxanne Perez against Blair Davenport, which Roxanne won in front of her mum and a younger sister. That was quite brutal for a women's match. It
really was.
It was.
Like, holy
now
crap.
we're used to seeing that type of match with the women in AEW, not so much in WWE. But no, that was fantastic. Like the table spot was crazy. The ending where Roxanne did a finisher into the chairs. That was brutal as well. And just the shots after shots on the outside, because there was a lot of action going on the outside, was crazy. But those two put on a fantastic match. And then Blair just kicked it off, didn't she? She didn't even do her entrance. She just came from the crowd. Off we go.
Yeah.
Bang. Out of nowhere. But no, that was a heck of a match. And I don't really think it mattered who actually came out on top in that match. You could have really gone either way. I know there was a few people that said, because she was just sort of returning with this kind of new character, it might have been better to have her go out on top. But I thought that she looked very strong in the match, regardless that she took the L. And that's what you at least want, as long as you're keeping the character strong. I'm quite sure she'll rack some wins up, and sort of get back into the to the frame for I think that's where she's heading to, and Roxanne's obviously trying to get herself back in there, is to take on Tiffany Stratton at some point. Then of course we had the next match, which. It was alright. It was probably, I'd probably say the worst match on the card, which Gable Stevenson and Baron Corbin. I don't think...
Yeah, I didn't care for that match. I was like...
And ending in a double count out was a bit strange. There was no fan reaction whatsoever for Gable Stevenson. Stevenson, sorry, none whatsoever. Like, he wasn't getting booed, he wasn't getting cheered, he wasn't getting his name chant, nothing. I really don't think fans are that into him. And I think the problem is everybody's like, well, you're just trying to be Kurt Angle. You know, Olympic gold medalist, you're wearing kind of a similar outfit. And people aren't going to really cop. There's only one Kurt. I've seen other people try and do, like, it hasn't really, that's why I think he turned into a comedic, like, what's the boy on the main roster that comes out and goes, shoes, please.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's not a gold medalist, but he is an Olympian, and they tried to do the whole serious Kurt Angle type character with him, and it wasn't working. And he didn't really start getting some sort of popularity until they teamed him with Otis, and they did this whole comedic thing. So I don't know how well Gable Stevenson's going to take off, but with the reaction I seen yesterday, I think he's going to be in NXT for quite a while, because I would not want to bring him up to the main roster just to hear crickets. And that's really what it was.
They have to find something that works for him. Something that, you know.
And look, the one thing I will give him is he's fantastic in the ring. He can wrestle. That no doubt about that. You know, he's got the pedigree
right
there.
But WWE is also about the E is about entertainment. You know, and you know they want that there. They want the athleticism, but they want to be able to tell a story too.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And I think he's got a lot of work to do on a character. Find the character that's really gonna fit him and work for him. 2, he obviously has to do work on his mic work, and that's obviously a big thing if you want to make it far. Doesn't matter what company you're in. But as I said, the crowd was more behind Baron Corbin, but the match itself, it was pretty. You know, it was the piss break match. You know? It was.
Yeah.
And then we got in,
and that's why it was a mid card match though too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was, and it was the shortest match on the. They only got about 6 minutes or thereabouts. Then of course we had the triple threat match for the North American champ, which was actually pretty good match. I just bloody wish Rhea would just keep her bloody nose out of everything, but you know, I suppose that kind of helps the whole Dom can't do anything without backup kind of, you know, story they're going with.
Because that was definitely there. They made a mention of that too. The announcer did.
But I loved
can
it.
Dom do anything on his own? Yeah,
I loved it. Like at the start where it looked like Wes and Mustafa were going to go, and then they look at him, they go after him and beat the crap out of him. They beat the crap out of him, took him out of the match, then they started going at it. And then the spot where Rhea's up on the outside, she's telling her, "Don't you do it! You're not doing it! Pull it!" And then he just jumps over the top of her.
Yeah.
And then they get him, and they tie him up, which was towards the end of the match, and Mustafa does his move. And then, of course, she pulls him out, obviously, so Dom's able to get the win in the end. But one spot in the match I did feel from the start, I actually thought initially he'd hurt himself, where he had them all, he had Dominic and Wes bent over into the ropes, and they were like hanging out, sort of like they were half in but half hanging out. And he's gone to do that 450, and he's just gone splat. It completely missed it. I'm like, oh. And he was down for a little bit too, so I don't doubt he probably knocked the wind out of himself. That's probably was down for a little bit.
Well, you got to figure that's like doing a belly flop in the water. I mean, you know. Yeah. I mean, seriously, that's like ow.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you don't breathe right, you compress your lungs and everything, and you lose your. You're like, holy ow. Oh, breathe. Yeah.
And then of course Rhea just absolutely. It looked like initially she was struggling to get Wesley up, and then she powered him up and put him straight through the table. I was like, oh damn.
Yep.
Poor Wes had to cop it in the end of it because he copped the 450, then he copped the frog splash.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this poor bastard. He's going to need to suck some hard air in after this match. Yeah. But
I gotta say though, the more I watch her, the more I enjoy watching her in that role.
yeah,
She owns it. She seriously owns it.
she does. She
You know,
does. You know, and
when Dom is in trouble and she's screaming, "No, no!"
or
You
when
know?
what was the other part during the? Oh, that's right. Like he's tried to use his bout, didn't work. The ref. Then she threw him his bout. Then he's hit,
Yeah.
and she thought it was.
Yeah.
She's like 1, 2, and then he goes no. Oh, she's like no, no. What's it?
Yeah. I mean, she does. She sells it, man. She does a great job.
She does. No, she does.
Yeah.
In a sense, like, well, obviously in that role, she's obviously kind of playing that. Really, well, she basically is. You could say she is Dom's manager, really. I know she's his
Right.
teammate, but in that role, when it's just like his matches, she's basically managing him. And you know who she reminds me of, actually? She reminds me of Sensational Sherry. She used to do that.
Yeah,
same
absolutely,
thing.
absolutely.
She used to scream when her tag team or the guy that she was managing, if it was a singles guy, you know, something bad was happening. She'd get in there and she'd get up, scream, and you know, do her thing.
Well, and yeah, she'd get involved with the match, whereas like Elizabeth never got involved with the match.
No, she just kind of waltzed around the outside, waving to people.
And look worried a lot, and look worried, which is cool because that was Elizabeth. She was eye candy. Elizabeth was definitely eye.
Yeah,
That was her job. That was her whole job.
that's it. You know, and for that time, you know, because she had the big hair back in the day as well when he first came, because he was wrestling in the 80s. But yeah.
Okay, I want you to know, just so you know, Clowns just invited me to an Xbox party. I'm just letting you know that.
But no, it was a good match, that triple threat match. I thought all three did their job well, and like we've just been talking about, you know, Rhea played her managerial part well, and I didn't think that they were going to take the belt off at Dom this soon, but I also, because obviously he's mainly on the main roster, I don't see him, you know, having a lengthy title run. I think maybe he might get through another one.
And
or two
I was going to
defenses.
point out when you mentioned the one belt changed hands. It seems to be a thing they do with the main pay-per-views now is one belt changes hands.
At least one, yeah. Unless you're AEW and then they do a pay-per-view where every belt changes hands.
Right. But yeah, for WWE, it's almost guaranteed that at least one belt will change hands that night.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. So I think he might have another one or two at least title defenses in him before he'll drop it, but then probably after that he'll probably eventually drop it and go back up to his main roster. I think this was just to sort of give him that sort of taste of a championship and see how he goes with it. And I think it's probably good that they did it with an NXT championship with him first, because I don't know if he's... They're slowly still building him and stuff for a main title.
I don't know that he's main title ready. I mean,
no, not yet. So I think this is a perfect little spot for him, and you know, it's working. And again, like I always say, I just wish he'd find you know, the right kind of move set and that to do instead of, you know, trying to be a luchador. But he does that frog splash absolutely beautifully. I will give him that.
I will say, you know, I just said I rewatched WrestleMania 38 or whatever it was with Cody's. That was also the year that he and his dad wrestled together.
Yes.
And it was kind of fun to watch them both. But yeah, you can definitely see the striking size and height difference between him and Daddy.
Yes, indeed.
But when they both did the 619 on I can't even think of who they were wrestling. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I do hope before his daddy fully retires that he and his daddy get to wrestle one more time together.
Yes,
I think it would be special.
Obviously, he'll have to turn babyface again and get away from the Judgment Day for that. But yeah, it would be special. I think Ray's still got a couple of years left in him. So yeah, no, it'd be good to see. I definitely
hang on. We're gonna have you're gonna hear me have some fun here in a second because he keeps inviting me to a party. So you're not gonna be able to hear him, but you're definitely gonna hear me.
And then of course we we led in from that match to the submission match for the Women's Championship. Now, I thought that this match was good right until the end. I thought both girls...
Hey, hang on. Carlo, you realize I'm on a show right now, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're live, Carlo.
Yeah. You realize, I'm actually on the Powerbomb podcast right now on your channel that you should be watching. So I'm just throwing that out there. Okay, there you go.
You gotta love Carlo.
Yo.
Shout out to the brother.
He forgot. Okay, he forgot on his own channel. Yeah. So I'm gonna go back to the show now. Stop sending me invites. Thank you. Jeez, people.
Shout out to the brother Carlo. He'd forget his head if it wasn't screwed on. But no, as I was saying, so the women's title match, the submission match, I thought was actually quite good until the bloody end.
I didn't like the ending at all. I was like, what the hell was that?
Tiffany needs to learn. Someone needs to take her and teach her how to do a submission properly, because she just, I don't know what was going on, but she didn't seem to be able to lock that damn thing in. And then even with what she did at the end, where she literally put it on, I'm like, you're not meant to put your whole leg onto the back, and like, what the freaking hell are you doing here? Like, she couldn't even do a Boston crab or a single leg crab. No. Like, she was having so much trouble, and I'm like, why is she making this look? This is one of the easiest submission moves. Why is she making it look so awkward? I'm like, after you do this, which is obviously, the name of her actual moonsault, after this real pretty moonsault you do from the top rope that you always pull off and it looks beautiful, and you can't do the simplest submission move, right? And then I didn't get, because the finish, even with the whole towel being thrown in, because like Thea has shown how tough she is, and she wasn't passing out, or she hadn't passed out, and she was still fairly close to the... I'm like, what the kind of awkward hell of...
That's why I'm wondering if something was actually going wrong to have them throw in a towel like that. I mean...
Well, you know what I think it was?
What was it scripted? Was that their intention? What I'm wondering.
What's good, PK? Here he is. Wait for it, Paul. He's going to start the pineapple.
He was in the party too. Yeah, PK was in the party when I popped in there, and now Fierce is spamming me with invites. So yeah, every once in a while I get a ding in my ear.
Our brother PK also forgot it's wrestling time. Wrestling time, PK. Come on, brother. No, like, I think, if it wasn't scripted, they did it because I think because Tiffany was screwing up that submission move, and then she really, like, when she literally, because she threw in that knee at the end, and then she had the knee on her back and then started, I think maybe he's done it because I think she may have injured her back there a little bit.
That's why I said it seems kind of weird that they would have done that. It seems kind of weird that they would have done that unless it was part of the story.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. And I don't think I mean, it could be, but then I look at the other side of the coin that there's a possibility that it wasn't, and it's more done because he was obviously seeing Tiffany was completely making an absolute mess and meal of that submission. But when it was like she slipped and then fell, and her knee's gone straight into Thea's back, and then she's decided, okay, my knee's just going to stay there now, and then I'm going to do this. And I'm like, what are you trying to turn this into now? And even then, and she was fully sitting back on her, but even then she was still having trouble having the legs hooked under her armpits and like to hold it. I'm like, what the freaking hell is this girl doing?
I mean, worst comes to worst, do a basic sleeper hold. I know they all know how to do that.
Yeah. I mean, you've been to a wrestling match before, right?
Right. Yeah. Because if you can actually watch them, they're always communicating with each other and with the ref.
Yeah.
So they can always say, look, I got to do a, whatever, to let
I
them
would
know
have
that I'm
preferred
having a
her
problem.
to probably do the
Yeah.
figure four leg lock. I mean, God, like, but then again, like, if she was stuffing up just a single leg crab or the Boston crab, she's probably going to stuff up the bloody figure four too. Like, oh, do I cross the
Right.
leg here? Do I put my leg over? Like, so someone needs to do work with Tiffany when it comes to submissions, because that whole ending was just horrible. Like, it was definitely, a blunder on her behalf.
Yeah.
Regardless if she was obviously scripted, which obviously she probably was scripted to win the match. And the only other thing I thought was, you know what, I know she's only been champion for a short period of time, but they had an opportunity yesterday too. Even if she was scripted, I would have preferred them to script Thea to win, because they had the opportunity to make Thea the youngest, not just the youngest NXT women's champion, the youngest female to ever win a women's championship in WWE history because of her age. She's only 19.
Yeah.
So they had an opportunity. I mean, obviously there's still time. So I think she only turned 19 this year. So there's still time before she turns 20 to set that record. And I hope they do, because she's come along leaps and bounds, and she actually can apply submission moves very well. She can do that that armbar really, really good and lock it in well. So no, again, it was a good match up until that ending, and then it was blundered.
And like I said, if it wasn't scripted, or if they had to change it up because something went wrong, I hope everybody's healthy. That somebody didn't inadvertently get hurt.
I hope Thea is, but I do think that her lower back at least would,
because it does seem weird that she couldn't lock in what would be considered a basic submission hold in wrestling.
Yeah. I think Thea's back could be feeling it a bit today. I think the poor girl. And then of course we had our main event, which, I mean, leading in, I knew was always going to be a fantastic match. I almost gave it 5 stars, but I gave it 4. Carmelo and Dragunov put on a show. Man, did they put on a show. Oh, that Dragunov. Jeez, he hits hard. He chops hard and he hits hard. Like, every shot, you can hear the crack.
Yeah.
And even with Trick did his thing on the outside. I loved it when he grabbed the belt and he's putting it at Mello's face. Are you a fraud, or are you the champ? Are you the fraud, or are you the champ? Come on, you fight for this.
Yep.
And getting his buddy Inspiration up and getting him pumped up. Come on, get up, continue. And yeah, man, like that was an awesome way to finish the pay-per-view. Again, that could have gone either way, because obviously they're building Dragunov up, and eventually he is going to be the NXT champion at some point. He's already, I think he was a 1 or 2 time UK champion for their NXT when they were running that. But no, fantastic match, man. You had the high-flying skills, obviously, of Carmelo, with the hard-hitting, more sort of ground and pound game of Dragunov. And he just, man, they just sort of meshed so well. They had really good chemistry in the ring. Obviously, there's a lot of respect too between both wrestlers, and I'm quite sure we probably haven't seen the last of these two going at it. I think there might be a rematch in the cards for sure. But what did you think of the main event, brother?
I liked it a lot, and I was going to say for the whole show. Remember how I'm always saying every week that the WWE guys sometimes look like they're just walking through the motions. They're not really. These guys were striking hard. I mean, they were not pulling punches. More than they should be. With the exception of that women's match, but it is what it is. But I liked that last match very much.
Yes.
I thought it was a great way to end that. I thought it was a great way to end that pay-per-view.
Yes. Yeah, it was. It was. And as I said, it was I'd say I'd give it I've got to take a couple of points off. Obviously, a couple of points for the Gable-Stevenson Corbin match.
Yeah.
That was the piss break match. And just a point for the ending of the women's championship match. So I gave it a fair 7 out of 10. I think
I was going to say the same, about a 7.5 or so.
Yeah. I would have given it an 8 if the ending of that women's match was executed a lot better.
I think I'm going to start doing the reverse rating system. I'm going to base it on how many WTFs I uttered during the show.
Yeah.
And the more I utter, the less I like the show. So 3 WTFs, okay. If you get 9 WTFs, that was a bad show.
Oh, look, PK's in the chat waving with a pink hand now. He's got the pink hand happening. No, we'll probably have a few, I would imagine, WTFs this coming weekend with Summerslam, I'd imagine. That's for damn sure.
Yep.
There's a few matches, but we will get into SummerSlam here in a second. But moving into the next topic of the evening, it's probably going to be our shortest topic of the evening, but it's still a nice little milestone for AEW. Dynamite this week has reached its 200th episode. Would you believe, folks? Doesn't seem like that long ago that the company really just sort of started. They're up to 200. I think they'll pull out all the stops, especially from a wrestling standpoint, for this, celebration. So I'm expecting.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't think of it, but I know they have one match lined up for this Wednesday that's supposed to be fire.
I can't think of it. I know, I vaguely sort of remembering it earlier, but I just can't think. But I know top to bottom, I dare say it will be a stellar card for that. That's if there's one strength with AEW, they generally have stellar cards, especially for like them either pay-per-views or say milestone events, and this is obviously a milestone event for them. Dynamite celebrating 200 episodes. That's an achievement and a half. When you're starting a new wrestling company, you're going to go through highs, you're going to go through lows. And you always got in the back of your head, am I going to wake up and it's going to be a failure tomorrow or not? Obviously,
I've got to say AEW though has had a pretty solid histoy.
They have.
Ever since their inception, they haven't really had a downtime.
No. I've watched every single Dynamite, Dark, Elevation, all that myself. And there's only been a handful, maybe on one hand that I could count, that they had a couple of not lull pay-per-view. The pay-per-views have never been lull, but a couple of lull Dynamites here and there, which you expect. I mean, Raw and SmackDown have a couple of, every now and then have a lull show, and you're like, that was all right. It wasn't as good as what they can put on, kind of thing. But the only and I think we've always mentioned this, and I think slowly they're improving, especially in the last couple of months. I've noticed the improvement storytelling-wise, and we've said for a while that was probably their weak point. The matches were fantastic because they got some of the best talent in the world between those ropes, but their storytelling, because Tony was trying to do everything as well as doing the script for stories and that. Was a bit hit and miss, but lately, especially since Collision has come around, and he's actually allocated, and let go of the reins of writing the scripts out and stuff to a few other people. I think the stories are getting better. Like that whole storyline that we say, for example, with Adam Cole and MJF has been absolutely brilliant. I've loved every minute of that. And then. The whole that's ongoing right now, CM Punk and Ricky Stark's storyline is actually being done extremely well as well and executed well so far. What other storyline have you had in there? I think that the way they're handling Jack Perry's heel turn has been quite good so far as well. So you can see that the improvement's there, and obviously. You like to think that that's going to continue to improve and just continue to get better and better.
Oh, I think that's the match that I'm looking forward on Wednesday. Jack Perry's got a match on Wednesday.
Yes. PK asks how you feel about AEW Saturday. I actually like it. I like the intro. That gets you kind of pumped up. Good old Elton John Saturday night's all right for fighting and kind of fitting, obviously, because they're on a Saturday night. But I think it's actually good. It's been a minute since there was a Saturday wrestling show. And them putting that show on, I think now every single day of the week's pretty much covered by somebody, by some company. But no, I think they've been doing well. I think
Thursday's covered by one of the really small companies, right?
Thursday, Impact, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, actually, PK brother, and say that I actually prefer the commentary team on Collision than I do Dynamite. I like, and I know they interchange Kevin Kelly and Riccaboni. Riccaboni's been on there the last couple of weeks because Kevin's had to go back to New Japan because he's working for both New Japan and AEW. But when doesn't matter out of those two, when they're teamed up with why am I spacing on his name? I was about to call him Desmond Wolfe, but that was his name in Impact Wrestling. Nigel McGuinness. I think
yes,
they're a really good commentary team. Because all three of them, even Riccaboni, who's the long-time Ring of Honor commentator, they all know their stuff. They all know their moves. I think they have very good chemistry. And I don't know, there's something about their commentary that I just prefer over Dynamite's commentary. Like, Taz is great. You talk to a lot of AEW fans, and half of them like Excalibur. The other half can't stand him. Tony Schiavone's no longer really full-time. Like, sometimes he comes on commentary, sometimes, JR's there once in a blue moon. So, really, if you're comparing the two lots, it's really Taz and Excalibur going against Nigel and... Well, I'll say for the moment, Riccaboni, and I just think the Saturday show's got the better tandem, especially when it comes to their history and stuff like that. I just don't know. I think Taz kind of carries the commentary team at the moment on Dynamite. He's been a commentator ever since he hung it up. So he's got that behind him. I think JR, as legendary as I think he's done. Like, he doesn't have that energy anymore. He doesn't seem as...
Well, JR's like 1,000 years old,
he
isn't
is, he is, yeah. But yeah, he just doesn't have that energy anymore. You expect, as I said, he's getting old. I think that's why they only bring him out every now and then for a main event. But, yeah. I think the Saturday show's doing well, though. I think they are doing well. But, no, congratulations to AEW and Tony Khan, obviously, and everybody, all the wrestlers over there for reaching 200. And, again, I think they'll put on a hell of a show this Wednesday evening. All right, moving into the third.
Well, since you mentioned commentators, can I go into a little side topic that I've actually been thinking about? Because I've been watching some older shows.
Yeah.
Commentary, like, I'm not a big fan of what... Booger T's been doing on Tuesdays. Because I find he doesn't excite me. He doesn't feel like, like you said, like kind of like JR. He doesn't feel like he's really into it most of the time.
No.
But what I have figured out what I like and what I like about the older stuff is usually they had commentators that would play off each other. One would be rooting for, say, the bad guys, and one would be rooting for the heels, and one would be rooting for the faces.
Like when
the guy for the heels would always make excuses. No, that's just
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like JR would be for the good guys, and King was always for the bad guys.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what I miss is the energy those kind of things brought when somebody sits there and go, oh no no, oh look at that dirty movie did. Oh no no no, that's good wrestling right there. Like Jesse Ventura, somebody poke somebody in the eye. Jesse goes, that was one of my main moves, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do that all the time.
yeah. And Jesse again, he generally would go for the heels, and the other
Yeah,
commentator would be
right.
behind the baby faces and stuff. Yeah, I do miss that dynamic because I think that adds a level to the commentary when they're not sort of even keeled, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think Booker tries to do it because I watched last week's episode, and you could see with some of the heel sets, Booker tries to do that, but he doesn't sell it. You know,
No,
he,
no,
he's
not as
too
well as others. Not as well as
yeah,
others.
he's too low key about it. You know,
I think he had more energy, to be quite honest, and more personality as a wrestler.
yeah,
He really
me
did.
too.
He really did.
I think so. Yeah, because just like because some actors are like that. You give them a script and they're all for it. As soon
But
as they
I
have to
mean,
be
at the
themselves,
same
they don't know
token,
what to
like,
do.
I don't know
Yeah,
if that, like, obviously some of it may be on him, but it could also be because of who his team. He hasn't really got a great person to bounce off in NXT.
right.
Um,
That's true. Yeah,
so that might not be helping the situation either. Like if he had, I don't know, someone like Michael Cole or the one who's usually teamed up with Corey Graves. I think he's a Pom. I just can't think of his name. But if they had one of those two to sort of bounce off, it might actually be beneficial for him. But yeah, who he's actually teamed up with, just doesn't. I don't know. It might not be.
yeah. I think he needs to bounce off someone who has more energy.
Yes.
More.
Yeah. Exactly.
Isn't just so straight. Not always just a straight man. Somebody who can really
Yeah.
drive the energy into the discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Because that gives him something to feed off of.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And I because to me that's one of the weakest points of of all the wrestling programs right now is they have yet to find a really good mix. WWE they used to bring in some of the old guys to work the desk that used to be wrestlers, and that always worked for me because they could always say, "Hey, back in the day when I was in the ring, Jesse Ventura did it. Gorilla Monsoon, he was most of those guys up to that point were wrestlers at some point in their career."
That's well, as a wrestler, PK, you're not wrong because he's the five-time.
Yeah. Oh no, I
WCW
loved watching him as a
champion.
wrestler. Absolutely loved watching him as a wrestler.
The Spinaroonie, yeah.
Yeah.
He was good. King Booker.
I just don't think I just don't think he works as a color commentator.
No, I actually preferred him as a color commentator when he was up. This was a while ago, I think, before he stopped for a while, and then obviously they brought him back for NXT. But he was teamed with, I'm pretty sure he was teamed with Michael Cole on the main roster at one point, going a few years back, and that worked. That seemed to work. Yeah. And anytime he's on the pay-per-view pre-show, he seems to have a lot more energy too when he's talking about the matchups and who he thinks is going to win or who he's going for and stuff like that.
Well, I told you why that doesn't work after the pre-shows, because after the pre-show it's his bedtime. Okay.
But no, heading on to the third topic, which is coming from another legend. Third topic of the evening. Kurt Angle's bold claim. He said this I think earlier this week. He said, staying with the WWE in 2006 would have cemented him as the greatest of all time, he believes. So, during his Ask Kurt Anything episode of the Kurt Angle Show podcast, Kurt Angle opened up to fans and addressed a challenging question about what he would change if given the chance to redo his career. In his candid response, Angle expressed deep affection for his time at TNA and the 11 years he spent there, but despite enjoying his tenure at TNA, financial constraints led him to make the decision to return to WWE and conclude his career where it all began. But Angle also believes if he didn't leave WWE originally, he would be considered the greatest wrestler of all time. This is a quote from Kurt. He said, "This is a really, really difficult question because I don't regret going to TNA. I absolutely loved working for TNA. I loved my 11 years there. I probably would have stayed in WWE if the money didn't run out, but if I would have stayed in TNA if the money didn't run out, but I knew it was my time to go back to WWE and I wanted to finish my career where I started. But when I go back, the one thing I would love to change is I wish I didn't get injured so much because that's what caused my painkiller problem. Then my painkiller problem caused me to leave the WWE in the first place because I felt like if I wasn't going to leave, I was going to end up doing something pretty bad, which was overdose on painkillers. So I thought it was right for me to leave, but if I wouldn't have left the WWE, I would have wrestled there for 20 straight years. I really believe to this day, if things had played out differently and I didn't leave, I'd be the greatest wrestler of all time." Very, very strong sentiments and strong thoughts there from Kurt. Just from my personal opinion, I still consider him one of the greatest to ever step into a ring, due to his ability. Both in the ring, yeah, of course, absolutely phenomenal coming from the amateur background that he did. And, he just got better and better and better and better on the years on the microphone and telling stories and stuff like that. So I do consider him up there as one of the greatest ever. The one thing, though, I will say, and I mean, I know like he said, he doesn't regret going to TNA. I thought TNA Angle was better than WWE Angle. And I think the reason I'll say that is TNA allowed him to do a lot more. And so he was able to put on, don't get me wrong, he had some amazing matches in his time in WWE, against the likes of him and Brock Lesnar's program was amazing to watch. Him and Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit and Triple Threats, him and Jericho, him and HBK, of course, him and Triple H's storyline, him and John Cena, he had some amazing matches in WWE. But if you compare it, and because of the style he had to wrestle in WWE, to TNA Kurt Angle and the stuff that he was allowed to do in TNA, he took it to another level in TNA. And so his matches with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Jeff Jarrett and this one match with Abyss, which was probably Abyss's best match he ever wrestled, was just like Kurt Angle excelling. He was just on another level again. And I didn't think he had another gear to go after seeing him in WWE, but boy, did he shift gears and go up another gear again. So TNA Angle I thought was the best Kurt Angle. That was a lot of his prime years, especially in the early period there, was still left in him, and so he was putting on 5-star match after 5-star match after 5-star match. But obviously, then it did take a toll because of what he was being allowed to do, in TNA, and they were allowing wrestlers to just, work off the cuff and do whatever they wanted. Whereas WWE, as we know, had that much more safer style and much more restrictive, I guess, in a lot of aspects. But do I agree with his sentiment that if he had stayed with WWE, he would be considered the best ever? I don't know. That's a very hard question to answer, isn't it?
I wouldn't. I gotta say I wouldn't, because when he was with WWE, I appreciate how good he was in the ring, but I didn't care for the character. I was never a Kurt Angle fan as far as that goes.
Yeah.
There are a lot of better people that were out there that I enjoyed watching a lot more. So
no,
for
exactly.
me, I don't think he would have been the best there ever was. Yeah.
No, I don't. No, that's what I mean. I don't think he would have. But I think you've got to have him up there as, whether you liked him, whether you hate him, as one of the greatest ever to do it.
I think if he would have done and I know you're going to kill me for this, but I'm going to bring it up again. If he would have had to do like Cody did, where Cody went to the WWE, left the WWE, improved his game in every aspect, and came back, then yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, in TNA, he was more rounded, I guess would be the word for it. He
Yeah.
was a better character to watch.
Yeah, he was.
If he would have done that and come back and been able to wrestle more, then maybe, yeah. But in what has happened, no, I don't think if he would have stayed with WWE, he would have been considered the best of all time. There's a lot of people he would have had to beat to get that title.
Well, like for example, HBK is ahead of him. That's straight
Right.
up. Obviously, John Cena pushed well and truly past him.
Right.
And even though John Cena couldn't lace Kurt Angle's boots when it come to wrestling ability wise, John Cena surpassed him because of just how big John Cena got. He obviously being the face of the company. I don't think Kurt would have ever got to be that HBK or Cena or Rock or Austin being the face of the company. I think he would have
never been the face of the company.
No,
he was.
I think he would have been one of the top guys.
I hate to say this though. When I think of Kurt Angle, I think mostly mid card. I don't think main event, and that's just me. No, because his name doesn't carry that name doesn't carry that kind of power that the other names carry. You know.
No, compared to the other names, I see what you mean. But no, I think, for me anyway, I mean, I followed his career and I watched all the TNA. I thought he was a main event guy, but he just wasn't the guy. You know what I mean? So there's a difference. I think, he was definitely worthy of the main event because he could, of the caliber of matches he could put on.
And you're talking, and are you now? Like I said, I'm only talking from the WWE standpoint, WWF. Whereas if I would have heard Kurt Angle's going to be at the main event, I would have been like, who's he wrestling?
Who's he wrestling? Yeah. But no, I think, as I said, he would. I don't think if he would have been the greatest ever, but I think he's up there as one of the greats to do it. And there's been a lot of greats to step in the ring to do it. But yeah, he's definitely from a. I think
from a technical aspect, I'd put him up there for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's easily for me top 5 technical wrestlers to ever do it. Easily. Yeah. The likes of him, Benoit. I'd even have Jericho in there. Jericho from a lot of his career was quite a technical wrestler. But if you had, what did Fierce say, guys? If you had Angle and Benoit in the ring, you knew you were getting a damn good match. That's what I was just mentioning before. His match was Angle, Benoit, and Eddie Guerrero in the triple threat. Was just insane. Him and Lesnar was insane.
Yeah, but you know who I'm going to want to see in that match? I'm going to want to see Benoit. I'm going to want to see Guerrero.
Yeah.
To me, exactly. Angle is just okay. He's there too.
Exactly. Like some people liked him, some people hate him. It is what it is. To answer your question too, before everyone keeps moving it up, PK. She's going all right. Trinity is going all right in TNA. She's now the women's champion, and she had a fantastic match with Deonna Purrazzo, and I'm quite sure she's going to have some more awesome matches with some of the female talent in there. But no, she's doing well. Obviously rejuvenating herself there, and she's quite over, and I think she'll obviously finish out this contract and then go from there. I don't know if she's going to be a long-time player in TNA. I think this is trying to make a comeback, maybe eventually to the WWE, especially because her husband is there. So she might do that, or she might do the Japan thing. I know her and Sasha are close, so I'm quite sure. They talk a lot about where they're going to go and what they're going to do. So we'll see what happens. But so far, so good in TNA. So far, so good. All right. Let's get into the next topic, which, of course, SummerSlam predictions. And we've already got a heck of a card for this upcoming show. Coming from Detroit, Ford Field, of course, the home of the Detroit Lions. And we got a stacked card already. A very stacked card, to be quite honest, because usually we're used to WWE when the main roster doing 5 matches for their pay-per-views. This one they're doing a bit of an AEW got going on here because there's so far 8 matches that will be on this pay-per-view. Obviously,
is it all in one night, or are they dividing it again?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure SummerSlam's just a one night. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Why?
So you've obviously got Cody and Brock. Obviously the rubber match that most people, I guess, are going in thinking Cody's going to come out on top to finish that storyline. I'm interested to see, though, because at the moment it just seems like it's just a regular bloody wrestling match. I'm interested to see if they're going to have a stipulation there or what. I would have liked to see like a street fight or something between the two of them, but right now it just seems like it's just going to be an ordinary wrestling match. So we already know, what that match is going to be like. We've seen the past 2 matches. Cody probably likely come out on top. You're thinking the same, Paul? Cody's going to finish the story? Yeah.
If they want to finish this part of if they want to use Cody's term, it's not finishing the story, because that story won't be finished for all, but finishing this chapter of the story.
That's it. Then we got the World Heavyweight Championship match, which with these 2 talents should be off the charts. Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Anytime these 2 guys go at it in the ring, it's usually right up there as a 5-star match, or very close to. I think Seth retains. I think, and I don't say that with a hell of a lot of confidence, even though I don't know. I don't know if they're ready to take it off him yet. But at the same token, it wouldn't shock me if Finn won. But then you got to take into the account, does Finn's stablemate cash in?
Yeah,
that's the other one. Who's leaving? Is it going to be Seth or Finn, or is it going to be Damien that leaves SummerSlam with the championship? You got 3 there.
I've got to say, no matter who wins, it's going to be a hell of a fun match to watch.
Oh, it will.
Watching those 2 in the ring, even before the matches start, just the give and take, they're very entertaining, both of them.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? It would be interesting, just because I just would find it very interesting from a story point. Like, if Seth retains and then Damien comes in, it's just like, okay, we've seen this kind of thing. But if Finn wins the championship and Damien, who's already I'm not going to cash in on you, but then he does, I think from a story point would make a fantastic story. I just would, because, they're in the same team. We've already seen them squabble recently, but in very, very recent, and especially over this. But Damien made that statement, I think it was on a Raw or something, when the backstage skit. You can go after Seth first. I won't cash in on you, though. But I just think it would just add intrigue to the whole Judgment Day thing, and would that be on the verge of really splitting them then if Finn wins, and then the minute Finn wins, Damien goes bang, I'm cashing in. So
there's already been talk of cracks in that group.
Yeah, for sure.
So
the triple threat match for the women's championship should be another brilliant match too. You've got 3 fantastic female talents in Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca in this. I think this is going to be an insanely good women's match. Could possibly be the best women's match of the year. And then, of course, with this match, you've also got to keep in mind there's Io get involved once the decision happens at the end and cash in herself.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Does Asuka, what do you think? Does Asuka retain? Does one of the other 2 girls win? Does Io cash in? What so many questions. So little.
I don't know. Part of me says I'd like to see Charlotte take this one, but that's because I'm a Charlotte fan. But
yeah.
But this is another one that I think they work well together. I think this is going to be a fun match to watch.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb. I say Asuka retains, but she doesn't leave the champion. I say Asuka retains and Io comes down and cashes in and wins it, walks out the champion.
So you think as soon as she wins it, she cashes in and it goes from there, and then
Yeah,
wow,
yeah. I'd even
that'd
go
be
as far to say I'm more leaning that she's more likely to cash in than possibly Damien. Damien, he might play his out a little bit longer, just to keep him guessing. But I think she's just ready. I think EO's just like, I don't give a crap. I'm just going to cash in on her.
what do you mean, Damien? Damien has the belt, not the.
No, Damien's got he's Senor Money in the Bank. Damien Priest.
Damien. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
thinking
You're thinking of Dominic.
Dominic. Yeah,
Too many
my bad.
D's. Too many
Yeah,
D's.
I could see Damien cashing in, maybe.
Then we got Ricochet.
I think at least one. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them gets cashed in this weekend.
Fierce goes, Charlotte's had too many opportunities. You taking edibles, Paul?
Yeah. Hey, I don't write the scripts,
Oh, dear. And even Yobi goes, nope, tired of seeing Charlotte. I think a lot of people are. I love Charlotte Fair, but yeah, she doesn't need to be the champion every 2 seconds. So I get that.
Well, I mean, this is the same group that we've
Then
had
you-
the same champion for over 5 years or 4 years or whatever the fuck we're coming up to.
Yeah. Then you've got, of course, Ricochet and Logan Paul, which from a spot.
I
matchup-
could care less. I could care less.
No, just from a spot point of view, that's gonna be insane. Those two, like.
Yeah, I know.
Did the
I
Royal
know.
Rumble.
I just.
I'm not a Logan Paul fan myself either, but I think that for an excitement for the younger crowd and that's gonna get people off their feet. I think, especially for the younger crowd.
Again, I watched a thing from 2 years ago and Logan Paul got his clock cleaned, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching that.
Yeah. Then you got, of course, Ronda against Shayna, which could possibly be Ronda Rousey's last match. I think she would.
Please.
I think. Well, she already stated it in an interview, so I just forget with who, but. I think that match is pretty much set of who's coming out on top. I'm pretty sure she's going to put over Shayna, and Shayna's going to win that. I know that match is probably going to be everybody's toilet break match, possibly, but yeah, it's going to be filler match for what it is. Gunther against Drew Mack, I've already made my mind. I think Gunther's losing. I think they're pushing Drew Mack. I think it's time for a change in Intercontinental Championship, and Drew, I think, is going to take it. I think he's going to take. They already had a match prior, and that was the whole, before Drew left. Gunther put Drew out, so I think Drew comes back. They brought him back in a big way, and I think Gunther's time as champ's up. I think Drew's going to come out on top. Then, of course, we've got the SummerSlam Battle Royal, which, I mean, that's anybody's game, isn't it? Because there's too many names to be confirmed just yet for that. I think Sheamus and LA Knight are both in it. But apart from that, we don't know who else really as a set, sort of who's going to be in it. But that should be interesting, like any Battle Royal. I really hope our boy finally gets a freaking win here. I really hope LA Knight gets a win here. He needs it. He deserves it. Come on, Vince. You obviously don't care about Damian Priest being a couple years older than him, and he's probably going to get a world title run, possibly. Give LA Knight a win here. That's all I ask. Give the man a win. He's the most over guy in WWE right now, outside Cody Rhodes and probably Jey Uso. So, and then that, of course, the main event, Roman Reigns in tribal combat against his cousin Jey Uso, with not only the Universal Championship on the line, but the recognition of who is the tribal chief. Oh, this is a tough one, man. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I know there's been, and as I said, we just know it's been rumors that there's been that talk of Roman possibly holding a WrestleMania, but if that has all changed, because as we know how far WrestleMania is out, things and plans can always change. If there was ever a time that I think's the time to pull the trigger on him finally dropping the belt, I think it's now. I think it's fitting. I think it works from a story standpoint after the way he beat the crap out of Jey Uso to beat him into the bloodline. It would be so good retribution. and to kind of wrap up that storyline, because the only thing I'd been worried when I heard the rumours, we're going to keep the belt on until next year, I was like, how are you going to drag this bloodline storyline out, especially once the Usos had split. I was like, okay, yeah, you could keep it going a bit longer, but I'm very worried about you being able to drag it all the way out till next year's WrestleMania. I would love to see Jay win. I've got a big question mark on the finish of this and who is actually going to win, but I'm not going to choose a bit. I'm just going to say I would like, from a story point, from all senses making complete sense point, I would like to see main event Jey Uso come out on top here. What's your thoughts on this, brother?
I'm the same, because I'd like to see him do the unexpected. Don't do what everybody,
Yeah.
What's funny is, all these things come out, what they're planning on doing, and says, we know they can keep a secret when they want to.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I would like to go into a pay-per-view not knowing who's going to do what, because all the sources are saying that, like, he's going to retain till next year and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Give me a surprise,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, like Yobi said, his opinion is he thinks Jay wins by DQ, but he goes, he doesn't believe Roman's dropping this until WrestleMania against Cody. Story-wise, he says Roman ain't dropping this until Solo and Paul leave him. And that's a possibility too. Nobody's wrong here. We're all just sharing our thoughts and opinions. I'm with you though.
Well, and
I think it would be good.
Well, the belt can't change hand due to a DQ, right?
No,
It's got to be.
It can't.
Pin or windfall. Pin or.
I would like to see him surprise us, because I think there is a lot of fans probably going into this match going, look, Roman's probably going to win this. Roman's walking out the champ. I would like to leave those fans shocked. And, like, utterly shocked. There hasn't been a moment in WWE for a little while now where it's literally made people's jaws drop. And I think Jey Uso winning and walking out as the new Universal Champion would make people's jaws drop. Because I don't think, even regardless if you're a fan of him, I just don't think there's a lot of fans that believe he's going to walk out the champ. And if I'm in that train of thought and I'm one of the storyline writers knowing that, and they'd know that, they'd be like, fans are so used to just going to a pay-per-view. They're probably at that point now, all the fans are like, Roman's not losing. Yep, Roman's not losing, right? And so if I know that the fans already know, Roman's not losing, I'd be like, let's flip the script. Let's flip the script.
Yeah.
Let's pan the camera out when this happens. We drop this on them and see all the shocked faces. Because people are going to turn up to SummerSlam going, we don't know the prediction. We don't know who's going to win this match. But the main event, we know who's winning that. We know who's walking out. Yeah. So I would do that. That'd just be me, though.
But there's one wild card in that whole mix. Yeah. No matter what the writers want, you got this guy named Vince.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting. It really is. But... it should be.
I think to me that would be the proper way to close off the storyline as well.
Yeah.
Basically
to wrap it all up.
Because to wrap it all up, because that would break up the family, as it were.
Yeah. Exactly.
Having Uso lose again just continues the storyline.
Yeah. It does. So it'll be interesting. We've only got a few more days at the end of this week to find out. I think I always look forward to SummerSlam. It's their big pay-per-view of the summer, obviously. And this is a pretty stacked card as is. And I think, as we mentioned earlier, I think we're both going to be... There's going to be quite a few moments where we're going to be... The WTFs are going to come out for some people. Yeah. So, look out for that. And I'm just going to say, I did have one more topic to go, but I've just seen me bloody kids' schools trying to ring me for some reason here, so I'm going to have to leave that topic for another day, but that's all good. But no, SummerSlam this weekend, folks. If you can order it or you can view it somewhere, do catch it. It's basically their WrestleMania of the summer, and I don't think anybody's going to be walking away disappointed. They usually put on a really good show for these huge pay-per-views. So,
And remember, if you have Peacock, if you're a Peacock subscriber, you have the pay-per-view.
yes.
For WWE.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all right, folks, that's all we have for you tonight. I hope you've enjoyed every minute of it and the discussion. I want to thank, of course, our brothers First, I want to thank my girl Trinity for, of course, everything you do behind the scenes and sticking with us the whole time. We wasn't sure if you were going to make it because I know you're not at home while some work's being done at the house. But thank you, love. And, of course, thanks the brothers Fierce Play, PK, of course, Dragonheart Yobi, Mr. Peace Love Life himself. Well, he wasn't in the chat, but we know Carlo was on the microphone earlier. Didn't realise that we were live. Of course, the little man himself that was up in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still in here. Pharrell, always good to see you. And of course, Tim Air was in here early himself. So thank you everybody for all the love and support. It's always greatly appreciated. And we cannot thank you enough. Paul, did you want to let the fine folks know where they can find you, sir?
Yep, you can find me on Twitter, CerebralPaul1, Twitch at CerebralPaul. You can find me on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays right here on the 4GQ TV channel with all the various shows I'm on. Tuesdays, you can find me on the Xbox Ambassador channel for Gaming Differently with Cerebral Paul at 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And then later that night on the Retro Renegades. And then on Friday, you can find me on the Doomsayers Network. For the now, it's called Wasted with Wise.
Wasted with Wise.
Because Wise Old Gamer drinks during the show, and we never know what's going to happen as the show goes on.
Oh, dear God. Dear God. You don't know what he's going to say or do. Yeah, that's right.
No.
Shout out to Wise. Yeah. And of course, folks, you can find me at Spooky TBG everywhere, on the Xbox still, on Steam, on the, well, I was going to say Twitter's, but I think it's called X now, because I call it X. I can't even get my head around that whole X.
Yeah, I'm still gonna call it Twitter.
Yeah, or the X Eat. It's not called a tweet anymore. He's called an X Eat. Oh,
no, it's just a tweet. They can,
kiss my. Oh, I can't get behind this whole X thing. But anyway, find us there, of course, every Monday and every Wednesday evening here on 4GQ with the Pop-Up Powerbomb and, of course, the Backlog Bastards. But until this Wednesday evening, and, of course, we will be back here, obviously, next week for a new episode of the Pop-Up Powerbomb. I hope everybody has a great night or a great day, wherever you may be in the world. And we will see you next time, everybody. Good night.